Jerk. Welcome friends to another r/am I the jerk video. If you call your own wife fat, are you a jerk by default? We'll answer that question and more, but first, a story by Fallen Grace 5656. Am I the jerk for yelling at my husband's mother for announcing my pregnancy using my husband's Facebook account? I, female 23, found out that I was pregnant very recently. It wasn't planned, and my husband and I are trying to make a decision regarding going through with the pregnancy. Here's the thing, I told him not to tell anyone, but he ended up telling his mom, but made her swear that she won't tell. He didn't tell her that we aren't sure about it, but just to stay quiet. Well, she begged and begged that she announce it on her Facebook under the guise of using our permission, but I said absolutely not and lied and said my husband and I wanted to announce it ourselves later if we decide to go through with it. Just a day ago, I found out she logged into my husband's Facebook account and dropped the bomb. Made the announcement, and yes, she pretended to be my husband behind our back. I was floored. I called her and she said she figured if she made the announcement using one of our social media accounts, then we won't mind and it'd still look like we made the announcement. But like I stated earlier, we're still trying to make a decision. I lost my temper and yelled at her, which made her cry. I said she overstepped and messed up completely, then hung up. My husband came into my room yelling about my poor treatment and abuse towards his mom. I told him his mom violated our privacy and put us in more pressure to finally make a decision for the baby since the family are now calling to say congratulations. He said that it was his Facebook, so none of my privacy was violated, and that I shouldn't have yelled and hurt her feelings and made her cry no matter what, period. He demanded I apologize and we'll talk about the pregnancy later, but I didn't give an answer and refused when he tried to force me to go to her house and grovel with apologies. Am I the jerk? I definitely think that OP is not the jerk, and I think the mom definitely overstepped their boundaries. That said, would you agree that they should have been a little bit more forthcoming and just said, we're not announcing it because honestly, we're not sure if we're going to keep it yet? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Our next story is by Impossible Anxiety 30. Am I the jerk for humiliating my boyfriend's brother at family dinner? So I, 25-year-old female, have been dating my boyfriend, 29-year-old male, for 8 months. I moved to the US 2 years ago and met boyfriend at work. I mention this for context. All is good so far. Then a week ago, he said he wants me to meet his family. I agreed, and honestly, I was nervous and giddy about it because it felt like everything was going really smoothly and was excited to see where it was going. He called his parents and they were really excited to meet me, so we decided to make it a weekend. His parents have a spare room, so they offered it to us. When we got there, I was greeted with hugs from mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and her wife. His father-in-law gave me a stern pat on the back, but he seems like a reserved type of man, so I took it as a good sign. I then met one of his 2 brothers, 19, brother-in-law. The other worked on Saturdays, so he would only be here for dinner. We sat down and chatted. They got me real British tea and slippers, and it was going really well. Then it came down to dinner. It's hot, and I'm in a summer dress. So that's when Mike, 26-year-old male, came home. He lives with his parents after a nasty breakup with his ex a year ago. Boyfriend told me she screamed at him on Christmas for being a controlling, sexist jerk. She kicked him out of their apartment. Boyfriend introduced me. Mike looked me up and down but didn't say anything but nice to meet you. I brushed it off. Halfway through dinner, the convo's flowing nicely and I feel comfortable, then Mike out of the blue asks if I'm pregnant. Now, I'm what people call mid-sized. Kudos to my boyfriend who choked on his food. He got really upset by that comment. I replied with a laugh and said no. Boyfriend was staring daggers at Mike, who was staring at me. Then he said, boyfriend's never dated a fat girl before. I was so shocked my mouth went dry. Everyone kind of sucked in air and froze. I think everyone was too stunned to speak because we were all frozen and staring. I was staring at Mike when he looked down at my chest and continued, and you're showing a lot of skin. I'm not sure if he was trying to haze me, but that did it. I laughed so loudly that a few people jumped. I said, you'd think a 26-year-old man living with mommy and daddy would learn not to judge people, but then again, your girlfriend kicked you out for being a piece of crap. So what do I know? Sister-in-law, her wife, and brother-in-law laughed. Everyone else was shocked. Mike got angry, stood up, and told me that fat girls shouldn't judge people. I told him that neither should a man with a micro. Easy to say dinner was ruined. Mike got up and stormed out of the house. Sister-in-law and her wife stayed to clean up, and boyfriend took me to our room to calm me down. He told me what I did was justified. The next day was just boyfriend, me, and his parents. Brother-in-law is hiding in his room after an awkward breakfast. Mother-in-law is worried because Mike didn't come home and won't answer his calls. Mother-in-law won't look at me. We left shortly after breakfast and father-in-law rubbed my back, but I got no hugs from mother-in-law, and I know I overreacted, but am I the jerk? I think OP's definitely not the jerk. Who is anybody to get off saying those kinds of things to somebody who's visiting? Or just in general anyways? That guy's just a total jerk who's shamelessly trying to make other people feel bad. Like, even if somebody is heavyset, what does it matter if anybody's dating them? You meet them and the first conversation you have with them is about how fat they are? Tells you all you need to know about Mike and why his girlfriend kicked him to the curb. Our next story is from NoPound7624. Am I the jerk for not telling my dad that I'd canceled our hotel reservation after he insisted on taking my stepsister? I'm 17-year-old female. My parents divorced 10 years ago because my dad cheated on my mom. He married the other woman who had 2 kids, my stepsister Julia, 17-year-old female, and my stepbrother Josh, 14-year-old male. While my dad cheated, their mom didn't because their dad had already passed away. Before that, I was a total daddy's girl. I adored him and I was glued to his hip. My mom encouraged me to keep a good relationship with him after they split. His new wife never paid much attention to me. They weren't mean nor good. But at first, I always had to share my dad with them whenever I visited. If we went hiking or fishing, they had to come. If we went to the movies, had dinner outside or anything, they had to come. I remember I used to cry at night because I couldn't understand. This stopped when I turned 15 because I wanted to do something special with just my dad then, and when he said that we should invite my stepbrothers, I just broke down crying, asking him why he never wanted to spend time with me alone. We had a long talk when I got to vent how awful I felt just sitting there waiting for him to turn his head and notice me, because if I tried to talk or have his attention, they would get in the middle while ignoring me, and he apologized. After that, we would spend more time one-on-one and just a very few instances with all of them. I won't lie, I really enjoyed it. I could really talk with my dad, do fun stuff, and be around him without having to wait for my stepbrothers to stop talking to him or anything. Julia and I'll be graduating this summer. I got an early acceptance to my college of choice, and when I told my parents, both decided to do something to celebrate. My mom and I will be having a getaway weekend to the spa, and my dad said he would take me to the beach. I was honestly really excited, so I offered to pay for the hotel reservation because I wanted to feel mature. My dad said no a bunch of times, but I ended up convincing him. We were supposed to leave today, but when he came to pick me up, my stepsister was there. He said it was a surprise since both of his girls were graduating. Apparently, she begged him to come with us, and he agreed, saying that she could get his bed and he'll sleep on the floor between us. I could feel my eyes burning, and I told him that this wasn't the deal. He tried to convince me, but he ended up leaving with her. In my rage, I called the hotel to cancel the room, and I didn't tell my dad. When they arrived, he tried to check in, and when he couldn't, he called me. I only said, "Yeah, I canceled it," and hung up. He sent me a long text apologizing, and my mom said that what I did wasn't okay and that I owe them an apology. Apparently, they're on their way back because they couldn't find a hotel. First off, I think OP's feelings are very legitimate and a tough thing to deal with. And the main reason why OP's not the jerk here in any way is because this father did not communicate in any way that the stepdaughter was going to be there. And it seemed almost blatant when the dad was hesitant to let OP get the hotel reservation on their own, probably because they expected to take the stepsister along the entire time. The dad knew that OP has had long-standing issues with not getting enough one-on-one attention and still went and allowed this to happen where the stepsister was there. That's why OP's definitely not the jerk, and honestly, I kind of hope the dad is remorseful for having allowed that to happen. Our next story is by Throwaway FIL2409. I'm 30. 2 years ago, my spouse and I moved back to our home country after living overseas for many years. Father-in-law asked us to move into his apartment until we bought a house. Reasons: with the way housing works over here, we couldn't immediately buy a house, as father-in-law had previously put another property in spouse's name so father-in-law could pay less tax. We had to wait about 2 years. Here, it's common for married couples to continue staying with their parents. Renting is uncommon and expensive. Most locals own their houses. Also, he said he was lonely. I've repeatedly offered to pay rent and utilities, but father-in-law has refused. We finally bought a house this year, but it'll only be move-in ready at the end of this year. Father-in-law and I don't see eye to eye. I never kicked up a fuss since we were staying for free, but he's done this thing twice, which was finally too much. Father-in-law's bedroom and our bedroom share a bathroom, as in they're joined by the bathroom, which is only accessible from 2 doors. One in his room, one in ours. They're folding doors with a latch-style lock on the inside, so every time I use the bathroom, I lock father-in-law's door from the inside. One night 4 months ago, I was using the bathroom. I suddenly saw a kitchen knife sticking through the gap in the folding door, wriggling up to unlock the hatch. I screamed, "I'm inside!" Father-in-law from the outside said, "Oh, I thought there was no one inside." I was too shocked to say anything more. My spouse was furious, but I'd rather speak to father-in-law myself. The next morning I said, "I was pretty taken aback last night to see a knife coming through the door. Next time, could you knock when the door's locked?" His response was, "Well, I thought there was no one inside." No apology or anything. I was pretty shocked by the response, but dropped it after saying, okay, well, I was in there." It didn't happen again until 2 weeks ago. Again, knife through the door. This time he said from outside, "Oops, it's okay." I panicked and spent the next hour checking my room for hidden cameras. Nothing. Still, I had enough. I don't know or care if it's a misunderstanding. I just want this to stop. So after discussing with my spouse, I moved out. They were furious with father-in-law again, but I told them not to confront father-in-law as he's volatile and exhausting to talk to. My sister has a vacant apartment nearby. She's already previously offered the place to me because she was horrified with father-in-law's hoarding, so I decided to take her up on it. This will last until at least October. My partner stays over a few times a week. It's a 15-minute bike ride away and says they're happy to do so. They've been so supportive, but I can still tell they're sad. Also, I wonder if I overreacted or was too passive-aggressive. I haven't even told father-in-law that I've moved out. He saw me a week ago and asked if I'd been overseas. I replied no and nothing else. Am I the jerk? I'm wondering if I'm overreacting, underreacting, or making the best out of a bizarre situation. I think OP's definitely not the jerk. I think without having been in that situation both times, that it's hard to tell the true intention of the father-in-law, whether or not this seemed like very suspicious, predatory, or anything like that. But the fact of the matter is, regardless of the intention, the father-in-law was making OP very uncomfortable, and moving out just seems like a logical choice. This next story is by Throwaways It Roomie. Am I the jerk for causing the eviction of a roommate by reporting her? I, 20-year-old female, am an international student currently residing in my uni's dormitory. At our uni residence, there's a policy that if a student actively helps out in school events, some of the fees for residents can be deducted. Uni residence is also subsidized if you have a scholarship. As an international student, external housing goes for exorbitant prices that do not fit my budget, so it's not very practical or easy for me to move out. My issue started with the roommate I was assigned to. She's literally a roommate from heck. This roommate I'd call R is also an international student. At first things were still manageable, but slowly she started engaging in really weird behaviors. Some of it includes taking my groceries, and no, I'm not heartless. If she was low on funds, I'd be happy to help. However, in addition to the groceries she buys, she also steals mine, especially the snacks I buy. Same for my clothes. She steals and never gives back. When I approach her about it, she lies and tells me she didn't take it when I have evidence of wrappers lying around in her room or my clothes in her room. Secondly, she doesn't clean up after herself. We have a common bathroom and there's literal poo stains, period residue, or urine on the toilet seat, which she does not wipe up and I end up doing it for her. Same thing with leaving her hair all over, taking my toiletries without permission. One time I found her used pad on the basin, which was very disgusting, and she told me she simply forgot to clean up. She also has a terrible habit of snooping through my leisure laptop and journals to the point where I have no choice but to carry them with me. One day when I came back, my posters were ripped apart and apparently she did it because I confronted her the other day about cleanliness. She invites her boyfriend to our dorm to drink and plays music extremely loudly, making it hard for me to concentrate. I've written several emails to my dorm manager, but it's been useless. She comes in once a while to talk to my roommate and then simply says, "It's about understanding and compromising," even though I've told her about all this. So this time, I wrote a detailed email to both the International Student Relations Consultant and also the head of student affairs. Turns out they took it very seriously because she's had a history of accumulating demerit points. I found out I'm not the first roommate to experience this. They're kicking her out of the room as per uni policy. As terrible as she is, I feel bad because, being an international student, I know how hard it is to find housing, and she thinks I'm the jerk for making her rush to find accommodation. I didn't know she'd be kicked out. I simply wanted them to give her a warning or give her another room. But because they were also at their last straw because people have complained before me, they kicked her out. Am I the jerk? Or was I justified? I think OP's definitely not the jerk. While it might feel bad to kick them out and leave them in a very tough situation, the fact of the matter is it's not OP's fault that happened. And the fact of the matter is they were a terrible roommate that were stealing stuff, had bad conduct, and just really isn't fit for that kind of a living situation. Our next story is from Neighborhood Jazz 57. Am I the jerk for my response after my brother-in-law said my dress was inappropriate for a family gathering? Hear me out. So my brother-in-law, my husband's brother, was married to a woman from Greece. Her name is Nana, and the reason for their divorce was because of how much my conservative brother-in-law tried to control her clothes and places she went. He didn't want the divorce and was hoping Nana would accept the life he offered and stay, but she didn't. This happened 2 years ago. He now moved back with my in-laws and we'd see him more often. He tried to comment on how I dress on multiple occasions and it's unbearable. But since my in-laws said he's struggling and depressed, I let it go. On Friday, my in-laws celebrated my husband's 30th birthday at their home. I wore a heart-shaped blue dress and had my hair up. While we were eating, my brother-in-law pointed at me and said that my cleavage was showing and that I shouldn't have wore this dress because it looked inappropriate for a family gathering. I was utterly shocked. Everyone was staring at me and I felt so embarrassed and on the spot. He looked at me, waiting for me to blow up probably, but I laughed and told him, "Knock knock." He said, "Who's there?" I said, "Nana." Now he paused and seemed confused at the mention of this name. He then faked a laugh and said, "Nana who?" I said, "None of your freaking business what I'm wearing, okay?" He got upset and quickly left the table. My sister-in-laws laughed, but my husband and his parents were upset and later said that I was way out of line for bringing up Nana to my brother-in-law, knowing how heartbroken and depressed he is because of her. His mom said that I was petty and didn't need to dig at him just to prove a point. My husband thinks I'm in the wrong as well, and that I was being deliberately hurtful by bringing up Nana. I think OP's definitely not the jerk, and frankly, what OP said was probably not even nearly as severe as some of the things they could have said. This brother-in-law left a lot of very easy, low-hanging fruit to pick from to use as ammunition against him. I probably would have said something like, "Your wife went and left you for saying stuff like that, and honestly now I understand why. You're making me want to leave here too." See how shattering that is, and if they want to keep talking about my dress after that. This next story is by Throwaway636-18293. Am I the jerk for choosing my niece over my daughter? I have a daughter, Wendy, 14, and a niece, Claire, 15. Claire lost both her parents when she was very little, and I've been raising her ever since. Wendy and her mom live far away, and she has custody, so I only see her once a month. So I have a closer relationship with Claire, and we have a lot more in common. But I love them both equally. A while ago, I got a bonus at work, and I decided to go on a trip. But I couldn't afford to take both girls, and also the girls don't get along, which is mostly Claire's fault, I admit. So no one would have fun if I took them both. So I had to pick one, and since Wendy can go with her mom if she wants, I decided that it's only fair if I take Claire. So we went on the trip, but ever since then, Wendy stopped talking to me because she thinks it's not fair that I never take her anywhere and choose my niece over her. But I've raised Claire, and I consider her my daughter, so I don't think I did anything wrong. My ex, however, is calling me a jerk and says that I always favor Claire, but that's not true. So am I the jerk? I definitely think there's a greater issue here than just whether or not they took them on the trip. Wendy appears to feel neglected, and having the situation where you can pick between them and then OP picking Claire over Wendy doesn't really help. I'm gonna say OP is the jerk because from Wendy's perspective, already getting so little from your father and then seeing them choose Claire for this big nice trip, it's just upsetting, and it only stands to fuel that neglectful feeling. Our next story is by To Kid's Room. Am I the jerk for having the same standards for my daughter as my sons? I, 48-year-old female, have 5 kids. My twins are 16-year-old male, and my triplets are 15 male, male, and female. Currently, the 16-year-old male twins share a room, the 15-year-old male twins have a room, and the single girl has a room. All kids could have their own room, but they chose to share. This year, my boys all came together. They asked if they could all pool their birthday money for a room makeover. They want their beds and clothing to be in one room and desks in the other room for a gamer's paradise, and have been saving last year's birthday presents and have been saving their Christmas money from the last 2 years. I painted their gaming room a dark gray with leftover paint from my parents' reno, but added LEDs as the main light source on the ceilings and under the desks and in each shelf. I made the closet into a built-in bookshelf for video games and their figurines, along with wall shelves, added a couple of mini fridges for drinks, a mini snack vending machine, and painted their desks to match. Then changed their sleeping and clothing arrangement. I did not spend any additional money outside of the budget, and the boys all helped with manual labor of moving stuff and painting furniture that my daughter did witness. Now my daughter's jealous that I didn't do her room as well. We explained that the boys have been saving money in birthday and Christmas presents, and she asked to make a total room makeover plan too. So we did, and it would cost about the same as what the boys did. She wanted all new furniture along with painting it and crafting setup. I told her if she wanted exactly this room, she would need to contribute so and so amount of dollars, and even came up with a plan if she wanted to do extra chores. All kids get this opportunity, but if she didn't want new furniture, we could repurpose the old stuff we have between storage and what's currently in there, and she could afford it this year. My husband thinks I'm not being fair to her because there were 4 boys to save money and there's only one of her. I said we shouldn't be picking favorites and all the kids should be at the same standard, and yes, there's one of her, but I didn't buy the boys any new furniture, and she wants all new stuff, not renovated. Well, we were doing early Easter at my parents', and my daughter asked Grandpa for money because I wasn't being fair and favoring the boys. I stopped that immediately and told my dad the entire story. Now my family split on the verdict. My mom says I'm the jerk for the same reason of my husband, but my dad says I'm teaching her a valuable lesson on budgeting and repurposing. So my husband and I, who regularly frequent here, are wondering, am I the jerk for keeping my daughter at the same standard as my boys? I feel like this is really tricky, because the husband does have a point where 4 boys can all band together with their money since they're sharing everything, and get it arguably 4+ times faster than one person could. But I also kind of understand wanting to make sure your kids know that getting stuff costs things and you gotta work for it. I would say OP is a jerk if they refuse to do anything to help them. I would suggest at the very minimum having a lower amount of money required, covering the rest for them if you have the money for that, and then kind of having like a payment plan that the daughter can pay towards every so often, maybe once a month or something like that. Let them get the stuff in a reasonable amount of time for one person to get that amount of stuff, and still give them a little bit of a lesson about fiscal responsibility. Our next story is by Pierre Preston. Am I, 25-year-old male, the jerk for telling my girlfriend, 23-year-old female, that she's spending her child support money irresponsibly? My girlfriend and her daughter's father broke up almost 2 years ago. Their daughter just turned 3, and she put in a petition for child support a little over a year ago, because when they broke up, she had to buy mostly all new things for their child. The father agreed to help, but ended up leaving my girlfriend to pay for everything alone. Support was finally settled, and he owes her $6,000 in back pay, and instead of paying it in increments, he offered to pay it in full. My girlfriend was so excited. She said she was going to pay off credit cards that she fell back on because she struggled financially, as well as use the money to find an apartment and get clothes for herself because she hadn't gotten new clothes since she had her daughter because she couldn't afford it, except for things I've bought her. Then said the rest will go in savings for her daughter. I told her that all of that money needs to go into a savings for her daughter or used for things for their child because that's her daughter's money, not hers. She gave me a pretty nasty glare and said, "No, this is my money. I'm being reimbursed for struggling alone since I put in the petition. I can spend the money however I please and I'm not doing it recklessly, so why does it matter?" She was pretty upset and has been pretty short with me since. I think what she's doing is pretty jerk behavior, while she thinks that I'm the jerk for overstepping and not considering how much financial hardship she's gone through. Now I'm wondering if I'm the jerk and that I'm being inconsiderate, or if I was right and she is being irresponsible. I think OP is being the jerk here. Getting out of debt when you have a 3-year-old kid and finding an apartment are both things that definitely help the child too. And frankly, considering the mom hasn't gotten new clothes in 3 years, I think that's a fair thing to purchase too. I'm assuming they're in debt and haven't bought new clothes because they've been spending all their money supporting them and their kid, right? I don't think the way they're spending this money is irresponsible at all. Our next story is from Palmello764. Am I the jerk? I told my sister I think it's wrong she's getting divorced over her husband's son. My sister's 30 and is married to a man who she and our family love. They've said they wanted to be child-free since they met 4 years ago. They had a nice life where they both worked, have a dog, nice house, etc. About a year ago, he found out that he had a son. The mother was an acquaintance he slept with 6 years ago who had never told him about him. She passed away, and her elderly mother has too many health issues for her to have custody, so he went to live with them. He's an amazing little kid, and our family's grown to love him too. So we were all shocked a month ago when my sister said her and him were going to separate. She said she loves her husband, but she can't take being a stepmother anymore, and that everything from not being able to watch adult shows at all hours of the day to asking him to do his homework makes her miserable. Her husband is absolutely devastated, as they've always had a happy marriage and still love each other. She'll be the first one to say this. He didn't want children either, but he understands that he's the only parent this boy has now. I also found out that this little boy's taking the fact that she's moving out and taking their dog, she was hers originally, very hard. No doubt due to the loss that he's already experienced, and I felt devastated by that. When we were at our parents' house last weekend, I asked to talk to her, and after some back and forth, I told my sister it seemed wrong and selfish to hurt not only her husband, but also her stepson this way, after not even a full year of trying to make it work. She didn't take that well and hasn't spoken to me since. Essentially, she said she's never wanted children and wants no part of raising one, and that I have no right to call her wrong or selfish over that. My family seemed to agree with me on this, but my mom is very upset that my sister is furious with me and the family members that agree with me. Am I the jerk? I think OP is the jerk. I don't really blame them though, there's a lot of emotions going on here. The fact of the matter is though that OP's sister clearly said from the get-go that they wanted no children, wanted no part in raising them, didn't want them, and even considering that they took up to a year trying to make it work, only to inevitably, clearly, find that it just isn't the life for them what they want. It sucks and it's painful for the kid, but she's not a liar. She said this all her life. She has nothing but love for everybody, but it's just not right for her. She doesn't deserve to get beaten up for not sticking around in a situation that A, she's not obligated to stay around in, and B, just makes her miserable. And our final story of the day is by Maxla29. Am I the jerk for joking with my wife about not being ready for sundress season? She overheard me and my friends joking around when we were playing video games. I joked that I can't wait for sundress season to be here. After they left, she told me to take her shopping. I asked her why, and she said it was to buy her a sundress because it's almost sundress season. I jokingly said that she wasn't ready, and she was offended by it. Not much else to say other than if I'm the jerk for cracking a joke at that, because she's made a bigger deal out of it than what I thought. For the record, my wife is probably overweight, but I'm not an idiot and didn't tell her that. I'm sure there's a relationship dynamic that people can have where OP wouldn't be a jerk, but considering the reaction, it very clearly left a very sour note, and I would say OP is a jerk in that situation. That kind of a joke is only a joke if both sides can see the lightheartedness in it. If it just hurts for one person, then yeah, you're a jerk and you should apologize. If you just apologize and say you didn't mean it like that and you try to be caring, maybe they'll forgive you for it and use that as a learning lesson for the future. Or you can just not care about their feelings at all, dig deeper and be the kind of person that says, "Nah, I was just joking, they need to get over themselves." Either way, it's up to you. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.